Madam Presiding Officer, welcome fellow Toastmasters and most honored dignitaries, not only past international president Gary, but I noticed a couple of other club growth directors from other districts. So welcome, very much appreciated to all of you and everybody here in the audience. You, I'm sure, know, and this is probably why you're here, and you know that past international president Gary Schmidt is going to be speaking throughout this presentation, in addition to some other information I'm looking forward to sharing with you. The event format for tonight, I'm going to start with some introductory comments. Then next, we're immediately going to dive in to Gary Schmidt's speech, and there's going to be an open question answer period. That total format is going to be 15 minutes, including the Q&A. So it's going to be short and sweet, but we'll certainly have time to get into some good things, I'm sure. Then we are going to be diving into a role play exercise in breakout rooms. After that, I'm going to be showing you some resources that you'll have a chance to sort of take home with you after this presentation. And then again, there's a lot going on tonight, a little bit of further discussion, not only about question and answers, but even discussion of future webinar topics of interest. And then finally, some closing comments. The vision of this particular webinar really is encompassed in three areas. First and foremost, I wanted to provide general resources. Now, this is something that you'll get at other trainings, but I wanted to make sure that you had the tools to do what you wanted to do. But secondly, this one doesn't come by as easily, and this is really about the stories from those that have come before us, and that's what Gary is doing in this. And we also have some experienced club growth folks here that can join in the discussion. And then third is going to be the idea. So again, we started with the resources. We then went to those that came before us. And the third aspect is the interactive role play. I think this is so huge. When you can sort of get some experience under your belt, it brings life to, in fact, what it is that we're trying to do. So we'll see how this goes. I really think it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll get a lot of value from learning together. And I include myself in that. Who is this webinar for? It is for area directors. I notice we have some area directors out there. That's great. Division directors, not sure if we have any division directors, but certainly this will be on recording for them to study as well if it's interesting. And then finally, anyone interested in the club building process. That includes club growth directors. It includes just a regular member that wants to be involved. I want to let you know that anyone here that's attending will be able to receive these slides as well as additional resources and a link to this recording after the session. The reason I mention that is I don't want you to feel like you have to write frantically or you're going to miss it. Just want to let you know that this will be sent out to you later. So you're welcome to just kind of enjoy the ride, so to speak. I want to really stress, first of all, that club building truly takes all of us. In my role as CGD this year, Club Growth Director, I am learning this firsthand. There's only so much that one person can do, but really it's that team effort that really can make a huge difference. Also, I want to just make you aware, especially if you're an area director or division directors that are listening, about the expectations as well as the opportunity that I was made aware of in my, I believe, 3 times being an area director, 1 time division director, which is joining in the district mission, which does actually involve building new clubs as well as supporting all clubs in achieving excellence. To me, as an area director, it was much less evident how, in fact, to build clubs, but it's just really interesting to me that that opportunity and, quite honestly, expectation is out there. And I really want to just extend this opportunity to each area director and those that are leading their teams to encourage building 1 new club in your given area or division this year. I want to not only just ask you to do it, but I want to empower you in this way at the webinar, where we're going to get a chance to learn from experienced members, receive simple fundamental resources, and as mentioned earlier, get that brief experiential learning through role play. First and foremost, I think we just really need to be aware that there are actually 6 club building steps. In my opinion, knowing these are absolutely critical to successful club building. Now, I'm new to this topic as well, but I've been privy to a lot of great training through Toastmasters International, and those that are more experienced than I am, they come back to the same thing. You have to know these 6 stages. Other than that, we're going to probably miss a few things. And why miss it? Why not really do this to the best of our ability? Make sure we don't have any foundation mistakes along the way. We're going to be taking a look at the visual aid of these 6 steps, just so you can kind of visually see it. And then as well, I'm going to explain each step. Now, again, this is a cursory look at this. This is an introductory session today, but I just want to make you aware of it. So this is what it looks like. You can see it starts at the top, identify leads and prospects, and then it goes clockwise to contact and qualify, present. And we're going to explain what each one of these means, however briefly. So the first of these steps, identifying the leads and prospects. How can you even do anything until you have a prospect of where we can begin this process? Where do you get these leads and prospects? First of all, as an area director, division director, or someone that's leading a team, you do your own personal research within the area. You might notice there are no clubs in a given geographic region, or there are no clubs on a particular day or a time slot. You notice that there's meetings every day of the week, but gosh, there's none on Wednesday at noontime. So this could be a good opportunity to include one, which could service those Wednesday folks that would like a noontime meeting. As well, the referrals, you can get them from colleagues within your own area, as well as hopefully if you're an area director, maybe you've got club members that know that you're a support person and they can reach out to you and let you know about these opportunities to follow up with. The second of the club building steps is to, in fact, contact the prospect, and then in that process, qualify, are they the decision maker? The reason I say that is ultimately it's the decision maker that will determine if they can start a club. You might contact someone in an organization that just loves Toastmasters. They would probably gladly become a member, but unless they are able to, for example, if it were a company, unless they're in some kind of human resources or a department which can actually authorize that sort of thing, it won't do any good. And again, we need that decision maker involved in the process. The third step on our continuum, as we saw that, is to then present a demonstration meeting to sort of try before buying, if you will. I think a lot of us like that. It's like, well, I'm thinking about buying it, but let me try it out. Can I try it out first? Sure. That's what the demo meeting is. At this demo meeting, you want to be sure to include the prospect decision maker, certainly their potential members, because we don't want to have 3 people at the meeting, right? Because it does take 20 to start a club. So we want to try and get close to that number or get several interested parties. And you don't need an entire meeting role structure. You might be saying, oh my God, how are we going to do all this plus get all these people? In my opinion, you really only need to enlist 5 roles, and 4 of them, the 4th one, as you'll see in a moment, is already filled by your liaison. So you need a Toastmaster. Secondly, at that moment, you would be looking for those opening comments, the person that they know that's invited you here to present the opportunity. That's the prospective decision maker or liaison. A speaker, after all, we are Toastmasters. It's good to be able to demonstrate, in fact, that we can show speaking abilities. Be good to have a timer, an impromptu master. In other words, a topics master, but people are like, well, what's table topics? They don't know what that is, but they probably have some idea what an impromptu, what that definition means. You can use any word you want, but that's the word that Pat Johnson uses in her reference guide. We're going to talk about that just a little bit later. But this is all you need, just these 5 roles. So it goes pretty quickly if you want to put that together. The 4th step is labeled as address questions and concerns. In other words, this is the time to close the sale. You've done the demo meeting. They've now tried it. Do you want to buy it? Just really do that in a way that lets them know that this is an opportunity to take action. So this is where you can answer their final questions, close the sale. Once that in fact takes place, hopefully they are ready to do it. It's time to now charter. This is the victory point of where it all begins. What does that entail? It involves submitting all the paperwork to Toastmasters International. You want to be sure within the paperwork that you include at least 1, but no more than 2 of each of these below. First one is a club sponsor. Many of you might know this, but just as a review, the club sponsor is the one that's sort of including all the tasks needed to deal with prior to the point of chartering and up to the point of chartering. And of course, a club sponsor will certainly gain credit towards a DTM award. And the other one is a club mentor. This is the one that basically the club sponsor hands the ball off to and supports the club for at least the first 6 months. Naturally, they also gain credit towards their Distinguished Toastmaster Award. Then, as mentioned with the club mentors, they do consider that, and I think it's a good step to consider, which again, they call follow-up, and that is referred to that club support for at least 6 months or more. And I certainly have heard of folks having them stick around for, a year, 6 months to a year, but at least 6 months. That's what's required for the DTM. We are now heading into the speaking section. I wanted to breeze through that, make sure you had some ideas of these 6 steps. And again, I just want to let you know you're going to have these slides to refer to later. So if it went a little quickly, I just want to let you know you will have that. This is the section where we're going to get a chance to learn from those that came before us. It's not just technique that Gary is going to be sharing, although I'm sure there will be some excellent ones. But primarily what I've asked Gary to provide in addition is stories. Why stories? If you think about it, how have we as humans been learning since the cave? We get around a fire, we tell stories, and this is how it continues throughout the ages. And this is what we need in Toastmasters. We're no exception. We need stories. It helps make things concrete, and it shows that it can be done because, in fact, there's a story about the fact that it was just done. And as well, if the speaker is providing that enthusiasm, we can ride that enthusiasm for our own motivation. This is going to be approximately 15 minutes. I just want to quickly share a little bit of biographical information for those that may not know. Gary Schmidt is the county administrator for Clackamas County. Before that, he worked on the staff of 2 of Oregon's United States senators. He's been a Toastmaster for 27 years and is a member of 2 clubs to this day in District 7. He was the international president of Toastmasters International for within 2009 to 2010. Today, Gary is going to be sharing what he learned from helping to start 64 Toastmasters clubs in District 7 over the past 27 years, and how you too can enjoy that thrill and reward of starting new Toastmasters clubs. Please welcome Gary Schmidt. Let's give him a huge hand.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone, Madam District Director, District 7, Lori, and all our special guests from around the world. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, I have helped to start 64 Toastmasters clubs over my 27 years as a member of Toastmasters. And the reason I've done that is because I love it. It is so rewarding to start a new Toastmasters club and watch those clubs blossom, hopefully over many, many years. I'm pleased to say of those 64 clubs I helped start, almost all of them were still in existence prior to the pandemic. Unfortunately, the pandemic, as we all know, did impact some of those clubs, but I'm so grateful that those clubs that I helped to start, and it wasn't just me, there was a team, but they sustained, they kept going, mostly because of the tips Dave told us about before I started. But I do want to just tell a few quick stories of some of my favorite clubs I've helped start over 27 years. Let's start with the first one. The first club I ever helped start was when I was a Toastmaster for only 2 years, and I was an area director at the time. Yes, I was an area director after only 2 years as a member of Toastmasters, because I saw the power of leadership and how that would help me with my leadership skills of what I learned in Toastmasters. And why did I start my first Toastmasters club as an area director? Because my district director asked. That's why. The district director at the time said to all of us area directors, I expect you all to start at least one Toastmasters club. And I, being a new Toastmaster at the time, only 2 years, I thought, okay, that's what my district director wants, I'll do it. I was naive, I didn't know any better, so I did. So as an area director, I went to all my club presidents. Do you have any ideas? Where can we start Toastmasters clubs? And I remember they didn't have many ideas, I thought. My club presidents just weren't focused on that. And it was my home club, my own club I was a member of, the club president said, yeah, I have an idea. It's where I work, where she worked. And that was at Marylhurst University, a university here in the Portland, Oregon, USA area. And we said, okay, let's go. So we did all the steps Dave talked about in the presentation prior to mine. She contacted a professor of communications at the college, which we learned was not the decision maker, by the way. So instead, we went to the university president. We went right to the president and set up a meeting. And I remember I was so scared. I was an area director. I was really a sheltered person. I didn't talk to that many people at that point, but I met with the university president. She was so nice and kind and said, I know about Toastmasters. Let's start a club. And so we had the support of the university president. We started that club in about 3 months. It didn't happen immediately, but about 3 months. And I was so excited and motivated that we did it. And I did it because my district director asked. How simple, right? Now, I know not everyone is maybe as motivated as I was, but I wanted to impress my district director. I love Toastmasters. I wanted to earn my Distinguished Toastmaster Award. Let me be clear, that was also a motivation. So I did. So that's why it's really important to, as a leader in Toastmasters, ask, set the expectation. Now, not your entire team may not do it, but just set that expectation, raise the bar high. Tell all your area directors, I'm asking you to start a Toastmasters club. And if even 1/3 do it, hey, that's a great start for your district. All right, second Toastmasters club I helped start here in home District 7, at another university club, by the way, the University of Oregon Toastmasters. And at that time, I was the division director. I'm progressing now in Toastmasters hierarchy. And I just adored district directors, the district director at the time. Now, this is back in 1999. So Toastmasters did not accept, there's no credit card payments. They did not accept faxes. We did faxes back then, I can't even pronounce it, faxes. We had to physically mail the charter paperwork to Toastmasters International. I volunteered to drive, and those of you in Oregon know this, from Portland, Oregon to Eugene, Oregon, which is a 2-hour drive by car, traveling the speed limit. I volunteered to drive simply to get the autograph of the club president on the charter paperwork. Everything was done, but the president signing the charter paperwork. And if you know your history, email wasn't really established in 1999. We didn't even have email. Most people didn't have email. I volunteered to drive a total of 4 hours for a 5-minute meeting with the club president to get her autograph on the charter paperwork. Why did I do that? Because the district director asked me, because I love Toastmasters. I attended the demo meeting actually of this university club. I was so excited by these young people getting to start their club. So yes, I drove 4 hours for a 5-minute signature, and we helped start that club. A great memory, loved it. Next, here in Oregon as well, the Portland Trail Blazers basketball team, a national basketball team, they wanted to start a Toastmasters club. And again, as Dave talked about, the president, the CEO of the organization, we reached out to her. She said, I love it, let's do it. She sent an email to all employees. And guess what? They only had about, I think, 100 employees at the time. 60 of those 100 employees came to the demonstration meeting. That's why it's powerful to get the decision maker to support Toastmasters. All she did was send one email. Almost 2/3 of the workforce attended the demonstration meeting. And this was the first time ever I witnessed a club that started at the demonstration meeting. There were 30 people ready to go. The organization paid all the dues, all the membership dues. They had all their charter work, paperwork filled out without any help, no help from us Toastmasters experts. It was ready to go. And it was brilliant. I've only experienced that 2 other times in my Toastmasters career, but the club chartered that day at the demonstration meeting. And really the reason is because we found a champion in the organization who happened to be the CEO. So go to the decision maker, as Dave said. We started at the top, and really she took it from there. We just came and did the demo meeting, but she and her leadership team did all the rest because we found a champion. Next story, I'm now an international director on the board of directors of Toastmasters. Back before the pandemic, we would visit districts to help support those districts during their district conferences. And as a visiting director, you can go a day earlier to do corporate visits. You all know this, to visit corporations on behalf of Toastmasters. I was an international director visiting District 21, that's Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, in Canada. And when I went there, the club growth director told me, oh, I didn't arrange any visits for you, Gary. And I said, his name is Mike, but Mike, I'm only here a day early because you said to Toastmasters International, you would set up at least 5 visits for me. So I said, we're going to do them anyway. We're going to drive through Vancouver and I'll look at what looks like a building that has a lot of people in it. And we're going to make some cold calls to corporations without any prior visit organized. And Mike's a great guy. He said, sure, let's do it. And we did. We went to 5 corporations in downtown Vancouver without an appointment. We made totally cold calls. And guess what? In each instance, people talked to us. Now, Mike bragged, we have the international director of Toastmasters International here. No one knows what that means, but it got the attention of these organizations. Mostly they were human resources professionals, which is fine. But we had 5 corporate visits that had not been scheduled because one, we didn't give up. We were persistent, had a little bit of fun, and just went for it. And all I did, and Dave talked about this, I just driving down Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, that's a big office building. I bet 200 or 300 people work there. Let's go to the directory and knock on the door. And we did. And it worked. And I followed up with Mike throughout the year. All 5 of those clubs chartered. He chartered 5 new clubs because of those impromptu visits. So never say no. Always find a way. When a door closes, a window opens, how the saying goes. Don't give up. Finally, when I was international president, I visited District 35, Wisconsin in the United States. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we also have a Milwaukee, Oregon, by the way. And they had set up a demonstration meeting at US Bank, which is a prominent bank here in North America, around the world perhaps. And they similarly had a demonstration meeting of about 90 people, 90 people that attended that demonstration meeting. I was asked to be the keynote speaker as a visiting dignitary. And the meeting was fantastic. It went well. And near the end of the meeting, the district team, good people, big hearts, they didn't know how to close the sale. And I watched them literally about to end the meeting just saying, well, we'll send you all an email. And if you're interested in Toastmasters, let us know. And like, I'm starting to panic going, no, don't do that. You have 90 captive people here. Don't leave without getting a commitment. So I quickly went and whispered to the club growth director in the room. And she said, what, would you help, Gary? I said, of course. So she allowed me to come up just before the meeting ended, and I did my best with all I've learned in Toastmasters as an area director, district director, international president. And again, it wasn't all me, but I just said, hey, how many of you want to start a Toastmasters club? And about 70 of the 90 raised their hand. I said, great, let's elect club officers right here. And they didn't know any better. They said, okay. So we did an election right there. We started 2 Toastmasters clubs from that 60 people who are interested on the spot. So that's the point of take the initiative. Don't let people out of the room. Be creative, have fun, know your stuff like Dave talked about, know those 6 steps. They really, really help. So that's just a quick 5 quick stories of my experiences on just 5 of the 64 Toastmasters clubs I had a hand in helping with. It is such an incredible experience, such an amazing experience that you will remember the rest of your Toastmasters career. So just do it. Get out there and start as many clubs as you can, motivate others to do the same. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have about anything I've said or anything about club building. Thank you, Dave, and you all for being here today.
Huge hand for Gary. Thank you so much. Gary Schmidt, Distinguished Toastmaster, past international president. We do have a few minutes here for any questions about Gary. If you could make it perhaps about the topic that he just shared, that would be helpful. And Lori, as chat moderator, would you like to field, please?
Yes, and our PQD Jim has his hand raised. So Jim, would you like to go ahead?
Hey, Gary, great to see you. And one of the thoughts that always comes to mind is when I talk to people about building new clubs, a frequent response is, but we have these clubs that are suffering. Why don't we rebuild these clubs and build up these clubs that are struggling before we start trying to build a new club? What's your answer to that?
Thank you, Jim. Great to see you as well. I have heard that reason my entire Toastmasters career. Is it more important to start a new club? Is it more important to help a current club that's struggling in membership? And my answer is yes. Both are equally important. You start a new club primarily, hopefully, in an area that does not have an existing club, that there's a need that is not met, and that is not going to help by just building membership in an existing club. That's why we start new Toastmasters clubs, and we help our existing clubs with their membership. There is room for both. It is not a constricted I can't the word wow, I lost the word. We try and withhold. There's room for everyone, right? There's room for both. And so that's my answer, really. And I don't mean to be trite about it, but there is room for both. We support the existing clubs and we fill a missing need, which is why we start new clubs by time of day, area, location, corporation. Hope that helps, Jim. Thank you.
So Deborah, would you like to go ahead, please?
Yes, I have a question. Well, couple questions, but one is, where do you find the double club meeting? Is there a double? Is it online? Something that you can download, or is it something you suggest making up before you go visit a club?
I'm sorry. What do you mean by double club?
A demo, like a demo club meeting, like so you can demonstrate what a club meeting looks like to someone who doesn't even know anything about Toastmasters.
Yes. Are you asking how to prepare for the demo meeting?
Okay, I guess I am. I thought there might be one that's made up and something you can download and take with you to the club.
Actually, yes. So it's in the How to Build a Toastmasters Club. It's a module you can download for free on the Toastmasters International website. There's a agenda for a sample demonstration meeting. Dave talked about it a little bit as well in the slide deck he has prepared. But there's sample agendas. You don't have to do a full meeting structure for a demonstration meeting. You want to do maybe a 40-minute Toastmasters meeting. So truncate the number of roles. And you want to spend 20 minutes then for Q&A, closing the sale to start the club. You want to bring your strongest Toastmasters, although it's okay to have some beginning Toastmasters too. I've heard that doing demo meetings, everyone's such a great speaker. I can't compete with that. So maybe bring some newer Toastmasters so we can show the wide variety of experience levels of Toastmasters, and make sure your demonstration team fits the culture of the organization or the community where you're trying to start the club. Just very, very quickly, in a bank, you would not bring, in my opinion, a bunch of younger people just out of college wearing t-shirts and shorts, right? You want to bring people who are working in the professional banking field, existing Toastmasters, to kind of model that culture of the company you're trying to start the club. But it's all online, Deborah, is the answer. How to Build a Toastmasters Club. Okay,
and then forms to fill out. Like I'm in the process of building a club for the first time, and they asked about, oh, well, where are the W-9 forms I need to fill out? Or the payment process is one of the, I guess, most important aspects to the people in this club. So what are the answers? Where do I find the answers to the money part?
Yep. Again, this awesome How to Build a Toastmasters Club also discusses the charter paperwork, the fees you need to submit, the forms you need to submit. But also feel free to reach out to and Deborah, your case, your district director, your club growth director, your region advisor who supports you in your region, even your international director, or even call Toastmasters International itself. Our staff at World Headquarters can give you a helping hand.
Okay, thank you.
I hate to jump in, Lori. We're at 15 minutes and we're not going to get to the role play. Can we save any further questions for the Q&A at the end? Is that okay with our participants? I'm not seeing anybody rebelling
I
completely.
think that will work, Dave. Please
Okay.
go ahead.
I appreciate it. We're trying to fit a lot in. One more hand for tremendous question answer period as well as presentation with Gary. Thank you. Lori, shall I jump back into the slides?
Please do, Dave.
Oh, great. We're now going to, speaking of the role play, head into this exercise. At this time, I'm going to ask if Ellen, and I believe I just saw it went in there, is going to put the PDF of the 3 role players, if you'd like to download this. And I'm going to also just briefly describe it on the slides here as well. We're going to head out into a breakout room in a moment. There are 3 separate roles. I'm going to describe them, and we're going to be doing breakout rooms for a maximum of 8 minutes. That should be enough time to go through it and still keep us within our time. The role play exercise, again, this is more of a beginning level. It's going to really focus on the first 3 of the 6 steps in the club building cycle. So just to briefly go through this, and again, I would encourage you to download it from the chat. You'll have it with you to bring into your breakout rooms. But to just briefly describe it, the first role is going to be you as an area director or potential club sponsor. So that could be the individual that was just talking about starting that club. This is an opportunity for you to get a little experience in a very low pressure, fun kind of way. So here are your parameters. You, the potential club sponsor, you've identified that there are no Toastmasters clubs in what's called the Greater Eastern Community within your area, within the geographic location. Your colleague, Mary, set up a meeting with you and her friend, John, that is active in community organizations within that area, possibly interested in starting a Toastmasters club. So here you are at the prospect. This is the one you're going to be speaking with. The friend, John, who is the prospect, has noticed that these community presentations and meetings are not effective, and they often wander off topic. That's what you know in your role as potential club sponsor. So I would ask that in the breakout rooms, there'll be at least 3. Someone choose one of each, please. The second role is, in fact, the prospect, John, or you can use your own name. I just wanted to use a name in our little explanation here. John is a board member of ABC Charity that helps with disaster relief locally and wants to expand internationally. He's also a board member of XYZ Community Education Project that offers free online tutoring to K through 12th grade students that are struggling academically. Something that John noticed is that the board meetings often wander off topic with people talking over each other. Secondly, he noticed that when he was looking at his budget, the donations are down, trying to figure that out. He's like, well, I did notice that a lot of these presentations are kind of disorganized and they just don't have that focus that he would like. And then finally, we would not be a Toastmasters environment if we didn't have someone to sort of evaluate. And we're calling you the observer, this role 3. I have 3 questions for you to evaluate on, if you would. And by the way, these relate again to the first 3 of the club building stages. Did the area director, potential club sponsor, draw out and listen to the prospect's challenges and pain points? In other words, did all of a sudden he just start selling, or did he hopefully do some listening? Secondly, was the potential club sponsor able to determine if John is in fact the decision maker to be able to start a club? And if John is not the decision maker, did the potential club sponsor set up a follow-up meeting with perhaps the 3 of them to include the decision maker? Because again, it's great to have the cheering section, but we need that decision maker involved. And then the third and final item, was the potential club sponsor able to set up a demo meeting where the prospect can try it before they buy it, and really make sure to invite the right people, which would include the decision maker, of course, and the potential members, to be able to experience this actual Toastmasters meeting. We're going to dive in right now to the breakout rooms. Hang on tight and let's have some fun. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody. I'm sure we did have a chance to dive in.
We did.
It ended rather abruptly.
Yes.
Yes, we did. We're looking for a sponsor. Does anybody want to step up and sponsor the club in Australia?
Oh my goodness.
We're
Well,
putting
we need
together.
to stop for a second then on this. Actually, I'd love to hear, we're so short on time. I apologize, but there's so much we wanted to do. I'd love to hear from just one person who is the observer. Could you give us your answer to those three questions? I don't have time for more than that, but who would like to step in? Just the one observer. Who would like to dive in? It looks like Fred has his hand up. Is that right, Lori?
Yes. Yeah, I was in the room with Jim Robeson and Sally, and they had a very engaging conversation. Jim wasn't being difficult, maybe because he's already a Toastmaster, but they kept the conversation engaging. But I really like how Susan overcame a few objections and kept probing. Like Jim was saying, well, it's hard for me to find 25 people, and then she kept probing some more about some other possible resource, and even used the McDonald's marketing tactic about how they like find people in the market and things like that. So I like that. Just some little things that maybe definition wise didn't come out, but Jim was able to kind of help her, find those definitions. So that was my observation of my session.
Excellent. Big hand for Fred. Thank you so much. I guess I just want to ask everybody that had a chance to participate. Did you have a chance to learn something and have fun and sort of get a feel like you had a chance to get a little experience? I'm just curious. Raise your hand if in fact that was the case. I see pretty much everybody raising their hand. I love that. That's exactly why we included this. Thank you so much. We're now going to dive back in. If we could mute everybody except myself at this time, I'd appreciate that. I just want to let you know that in addition to the material that we've talked about, the slide deck, you're also going to be receiving the following. First of all, again, the 6 stages of the building cycle is included in the slide deck, but I just want to make sure you know about that. Next, that PDF that we were talking about that Gary was sharing, how to build a Toastmasters club. It's sort of the how-to PDF of most things that you'll need, including those questions that were asked and answered. I want to at least give you information about Pat Johnson's corporate programs, clubs. That's what she calls a club. A corporate club is a corporate program. There's a handbook. For those of you that are interested in that particular topic, what I would ask that you do once I email each of you is email me a response for who might be interested in that particular topic. And we do have some of those copies left in our district. We'll mail those out to you. Next, you want to have some promo to hand to your prospects. And we have some digital promo that I'm going to include as well. A chartering cost breakdown in case you're not sure of how that works. I created a PDF for that, both from the club perspective as well as from the individual member perspective. And then finally, the charter forms that is included in Form 121, but I am going to include the separate forms as well if that's useful. I now want to briefly head into the Q&A generally discussion as well. And I also want to talk about future webinar topics. As a matter of fact, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to just put that out there first, just to make sure that gets answered, because we do want to have this a continuing series. Lori's going to be the chat moderator, but I'm going to be answering the questions and facilitating further. For example, if a question comes in about club building, honestly, like I said, I'm trying to build my experience. I might just field that question to Gary or Lori or some other people that have done some building. So I definitely look forward to your questions right now in our brief Q&A. Lori, let's take a look and see who has questions. And I know there was at least one earlier that wasn't answered, so now could be a good time.
There is a question from Jules.
Oh, great. Jules, welcome.
Is Not necessarily on club building, but let's just let her talk that through.
Okay,
Actually, I do have some other questions, but I'll leave that till later. I think it's important we talk about club growth whilst we're using up your time. I was wondering how soon it would be appropriate in a corporate club to speak to them about their particular nuances that they wish to work on as goals of a corporate club.
that's a great question. And Lori, I know you've started some corporate clubs. Would you like to help Jules with that question?
Your question, Jules, is how soon would it be appropriate to work on goals for the club?
Or to ask them what are their particular goals, because we go into a demo meeting and we show what Toastmasters do, but then a corporate club has their own ideas of what they wish to gain or wish their employees to gain, and they're obviously going to have different nuances, different companies.
What we did basically with our club that we started for my company is just basically went through Pat Johnson's book and shared with them the idea that this was a leadership building and speaking development program for our corporation. Now, luckily for us, our CEO was in favor of Toastmasters.
Yes.
And the HR person was very thrilled when I came to her because I was actually helping her complete one of her goals, was to have this community resource. But the main thing is that we got started was just the fact that we are there to learn, to grow together, leadership and speaking. And once we started with that platform, then we were able to get everybody started on their icebreaker, showed them, the basics of the meetings and how those roles help their organization, help them learn leadership skills just by doing the grammarian or by the timer and things like that, setting up meetings. And I have seen, this is kind of off the topic maybe, but personally, I've seen all of those people in that club. Well, we can't call it a club. Pat says to call it a program. They have advanced in their career at work. And so those goals are being met. So I think when we're able to work with those people in their goals, then other things start to happen. We are saying, like we said, like, we want to help you get started on your educational program. So what are you mostly interested in? We went through the pathways with them. And so they got started on which area they wanted to really work on. Some people use leadership, some people use other things, but that's basically how we got started. That helps.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. And I wonder if I could actually get a copy of the handbook that Dave just held up. That would be wonderful.
I'm going to be including information in that in the follow-up for all those that attended. And yes, I'll make sure that information is in there. Great, excellent.
Thank you, Dave. So
Lori, we
Fred,
probably have time for one more.
yes, Fred, you have a question.
Yes, my question is, I didn't know if Gary had charted any advanced clubs or if they existed, way back then. But what would your suggestion, or maybe anyone else who's chartered some, what would the approach you would be like for an advanced or specialty club as far as trying to draw people in?
Gary, do you have an answer for that by any chance?
Yes, I helped start one of the first advanced clubs in District 7, Oregon. I don't know if they were existing maybe 20 or 30 years ago, because I didn't know about that, but we started an evaluation club, actually feedbackers, Toastmasters, that still exists today.
Okay.
And we did it at a district council meeting, district executive committee, DEC meeting. We asked the area and division directors, what type of advanced club should we start? We actually had a workshop, I recall, a speaker, and we did some brainstorming with the district council team. And they came up with a whole list of suggestions: an evaluation club, a humor club, a professional speaking club, people who wanted to become professional speakers. We made a whole list of them and then gave them out to the division directors. Go for it. And I just remember someone on the team said, I'll do an evaluation club. And I helped them. We started a feedbackers. So just brainstorm. There's so many different ways or ideas. Just brainstorm and then go for it. Let people know about it.
Okay, so my second question to that, Gary, it got all garbled in the chat. So would I need to set up a meeting possibly with the Cotro and my division director maybe to do something like that?
Absolutely. Or ask Lori as a division or district director. Maybe that's something she could facilitate with the district leadership team. But yes, Fred, empower yourself, talk to your area division director and go for it. Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. That's what we have time for. Thank you, Fred, and thank you, Gary. Mike, I'm going to take presenter's privilege if I could, and I just want to ask for the topic for the coming webinar. We're considering doing more of a series on this. One topic that I was curious if you think would be interesting, and I would love to get your honest feedback. We've been talking about how to build new clubs, but something that came up as well is the idea of supporting our existing clubs. And the next topic I was considering is how can we get new members for our existing clubs? Do you think that would be an interesting topic? And I've just loved, I'm seeing a couple of thumbs up. And please, if you don't think it would be interesting, give me a thumbs down. I won't take it personally. But I'm seeing some positive feedback on that. Okay, well, that I think very well could be the next topic. Any other topics you just want to blurt out that would be interesting, or is that a good next topic, do you think?
It's a good one.
Sounds
I
great, Dave.
You like it, you
If
said?
if
Oh,
I
yeah.
may, Dave, I would, from someone who's chartered a club or two,
Yes,
emphasizing that the club sponsor really needs to be the promoter of the club.
Yep.
And the mentor stays behind to help them get into the Toastmaster, what a Toastmaster club does and the officers does. So understanding the difference, because in the last year, I've seen a blurring of the lines.
yes, 100%. Yep, absolutely. That's something that we cover in much more detail at the beginning of the year with establish and support new clubs, but I think that is very much worth reiterating, 100%. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm just going to really bring us into the home stretch here. Just want to say to each of you that, first of all, this is very, and I emphasize in caps, possible with all of us. Together, we can build new clubs. We can enhance membership numbers for existing clubs. And I just want to thank you so much for attending, your contribution in Toastmasters, and invite you to continue. I know you've all been doing this in our district mission throughout Toastmasters International, which is building new clubs and growing our community as we help Toastmasters members one at a time. We build new clubs. We support all clubs in achieving excellence. Back to you, Lori.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. And Gary, thanks so much for all your fun stories and just helping us build excitement and learn how to build new clubs.